For generations, our history has been written by one gender, one perspective, one vision, one half of the population. Half of history is missing. For years, we've been striving for change, but now is the time to change for good. To design a future where gender inequality is a historical curiosity. With the voices of everyone, we want to create a Scotland where we're all equal, with an equal future. Together, we are Generation Equal. Generation Equal is made up of 3 powerful circles of people. The first is the First Minister's National Advisory Council on Women and Girls, made up of 16 dedicated women and girls. The second is the Circle, made up of over 530 passionate organisations and campaigners. The third is the people in Scotland who want to make a stand on gender inequality. Have your say at #GenerationEqual.
Okay, everybody, so a very, very warm welcome, and to those of you that have just arrived from the delayed ScotRail trains and so on, a warm welcome to you as well. As I've said, my name is Louise MacDonald, and I'm the chair of the First Minister's National Advisory Council on Women and Girls. And this is our first event of 2019. And we're going to be looking, our annual topic this year is going to be policy coherence. Now, I'm really delighted that I'm seeing so many well-kent faces in the room, but also lots of brand new faces in the room. I'm really, really thrilled that you're here. We're delighted to see you, a very warm welcome to you, and we really value each and every one of you giving up your time and coming along here today. Please do tweet, Instagram, Facebook, whatever is your social media of choice, and use the hashtag #GenerationEqual and hashtag #NACWG. And again, there should be cards on the table just to remind you on what our social media handles are. It would be great if it's possible for you to have phones switched to silent mode though, but there will be breaks where you can check email or catch up on urgent messages or check in with those that you have caring responsibilities for. So you will have plenty of breaks to do that. And finally, we do have access to another room, the Wedderburn Hall, which is, again, signposted. We can use that if you need a quiet space, if you need somewhere to catch your breath for a few moments, or some reflection, or if you need a place to pray. So please do make use of that room. The signage is just outside again. And another kind of practicality, I want to issue my thanks at the start of this input rather than the end. You know, when you come to conferences and things, there's all that bit at the end when everybody's racing out the door and you're trying to say thank you to the people that make these things happen. So indulge me for a moment. I'm going to do that first because they need to be thanked. I want to thank everyone at this fantastic venue for such a warm welcome to Dundee. I do want to say to all Dundonians that I liked Dundee before you were famous. Okay, I've always been a fan. So, you know, before you hit the top 10 list of National Geographic, I was representing for Dundee, just saying. Right? I want to thank those organisations across Scotland who've started holding their own Advisory Council wee circles, from Orkney to Royston and all points in between, and we'd love more of you to do likewise. I want to thank our table facilitators who are helping us today. The Advisory Council Circle sessions aren't the easiest of topics to facilitate. We are asking quite big questions, and particularly with so many passionate people in the room who want to share their ideas and insight, but those facilitators do that brilliantly, so I'm incredibly grateful to you all. And I'm particularly grateful for the facilitators' commitment to ensuring that every voice at the table is heard respectfully and inclusively. But I think we've all got a personal responsibility to make sure that happens too on our tables. So my thanks already to our amazing illustrator, Linda Hunter. It's a blank, almost blank sheet of paper, and you're only just starting to see the first elements, but it will appear like magic throughout the day. Every time you look up, something else wonderful will be on that sheet, and you'll be gazing at it in wonder at the end of the day, I promise you. My thanks to my fellow Advisory Council members for their insight, representing such diverse lived experience and intersectional expertise. It really is a joy and a privilege for me to chair this group. And a huge thanks to each and every single one of you. Our circle is large, it's growing, it's diverse, it's inclusive. So whether you're an organisation that delivers equality work every single day and have done tirelessly for decades, or you're part of an organisation or someone who's recognised that the time is right to step up, to no longer be a bystander, to be the change, to play your part, everyone is here because we believe equality for women and girls also means a better, fairer, more compassionate and kinder world for every single one of the people who live in Scotland and beyond. As this now risks becoming an Oscar-worthy epistle, I'm just going to copy Olivia Colman and her recent Oscar speech where she said, "If I've missed you off the list, come and see me later and I'll give you a massive hug." So that's the practicalities over. So let's get started and finding our way into our session this morning. The First Minister's National Advisory Council on Women and Girls was formed as a catalyst for change to address gender inequality and provide an independent voice to the First Minister. And our purpose is to drive action to encourage gender equality in Scotland, and our vision is for Scotland to be recognised as a world leader for our commitment and action towards realising an equal society where all women and girls can reach their true potential. I've said it before and I'll say it again, and those of you that have heard it can say it along with me. We want gender inequality to become a historical curiosity, nothing less. As a council, we created the Circle, that's you and about 600 other organisations who aren't in the room, but have signed up and are committed to this work to help us form our plan for the 3 years that we will be in operation. And we agreed that we would take a specific focus for each of those years. So in 2018, we looked at attitudes and culture change in public life, in work and in learning systems. In 2019, we'll be looking at policy coherence. How is policy made? Do policies work for, against each other? And in 2020, we're going to move on and look at how we can create an intersectional gender architecture for Scotland. What does that mean? What does it look like? How would we make it? We had 3 amazing meetings last year with all of you where we heard about attitudes and culture change from many perspectives, representing the rich intersectional nature of all those committed to being part of positive change in Scotland. June last year saw the launch of our conversation online under the banner of #GenerationEqual and the creation of our digital platform. And it's there that we hold monthly spotlights on issues that affect women and girls, seeking feedback in the form of local wee circles. And I said at the outset of this work over a year ago that the main way of being of the Advisory Council would be to listen and to be curious. And that's why we formed the Circle, and that's why we have the community online. All the feedback we receive is shared with the Advisory Council and then summarised and online for you to see. The outputs from this, along with what we explore with you, our Circle is considered along with research and evidence when drafting our end-of-year report. We're ever conscious, though, of extending the reach of Circle members. So last September, we tested holding satellite wee circles alongside the main event here, and that actually happened right here in Dundee, thanks to Dundee International Women's Centre. Are you in the room? There, yay, hello, thank you. Who held theirs. They've had 2 here actually, and we've taken on feedback from those sessions and are scaling up those satellite wee circles over this year. So you see that's Dundee in the lead again. We'd really like a position to have satellite wee circles across Scotland, parallel to the kind of 3 main events. So if you're thinking about it, please do let us know. Our first report and recommendations then was submitted to the First Minister at the start of this year and was incredibly well received, and particularly our decision to focus on systemic systems. Systems thinking was something that we took the decision quite early on we were going to focus on, and that's been very well received. We're currently waiting on the full formal response from the First Minister and Cabinet colleagues, and we were delighted that Equalities and Older People's Minister Christina McKelvey has been tasked by the First Minister to be accountable for that response. But we are also seeking responses for our report from those in the public sector, those in the third sector and in business. This isn't just about central government. This is about everyone playing their part. The issues we are dealing with at such a systemic level are huge and can only be tackled if everyone steps up and plays their part. So, if you're sitting there and you haven't read the recommendations or made your pledge or your commitment to help make them happen, then I'm available at coffee time, okay, to have a chat about that. But for now, though, the Advisory Council moves on to our next topic, policy coherence. And I'm going to make 2 quick points about this topic before we move into our speakers and our discussions. So, as I've said, the role of the Advisory Council is to look at issues at a system level. What needs to happen to create systemic change? So for policy coherence, our exploration this year will focus on how policy is made, rather than critiquing individual policies. Our exam question, if you will, is how are policies made, when they are. Does the issue of how they work with, against other policies get taken into account systemically? Is that about training? Is that about leadership? Accountability, creating conditions, and also how is that kind of policy reflected around the issues affecting women and girls? At which point is that taken into account in policy making? And we're talking here about policy making across all contexts, national and local government, all spheres of government, public services, the third sector, HE, FE, business. So start thinking, how does policy making at whatever level work in your sector and in your organisation? And secondly, the point I want to make is the session today is about opening up the question and starting to explore. What do we need to explore? That is the question. Where do we need to go? What are the questions that we need to ask? So here's the liberating thing for all of us today. We're not looking for absolute answers or recommendations from all of you today, okay? You've got the freedom to just question, query, ask questions about different aspects and other people's experiences. We want your insight, your questions, your examples of where cohesion is evident and the impact it makes when it isn't. It's an invitation to join us and be curious. This is a big issue to tackle, but in all honesty, that's the point. This is about doing that hard work about these big issues. And the good news is, in this room, we have some of the best brains to help us get started. That's all of you, by the way. Don't look at anybody else. So following today, we will have 2 further circle sessions where we'll go into this topic in more depth, and I'll talk about those later on when I'm closing. But for now, we're going to start our explorations, and we have some wonderful people who are going to help us do that. I'm delighted to introduce our first speaker this morning, which is Sarah Davidson. Now, I'm sure Sarah is not going to thank me for reading her biography, but I'm going to, because I think it's important that you understand the depth of insight and experience that Sarah has. Sarah joined the Scottish Office in 1995, worked across diverse policy and ministerial support roles across the UK prior to devolution, and was subsequently seconded to work on the establishment of the Scottish Parliament and developed the new legislative and committee processes there before acting as first clerk to the Finance and Public Audit Committees. In 2001, Sarah was appointed as Director of the Holyrood Building Project. In 2005, she was in the Devolved Scottish Executive to lead the implementation on the ban of public smoking in public places, and then headed the Cabinet Secretariat from 2006 to 2008. On promotion to Director, Sarah took up post first as the Scottish Government's Director of Communications and Marketing, and then as Director for Local Government and Communities. Following maternity leave and a 6-month period as Acting Director of HR and OD, she was promoted to Director General Communities in May 2014. And this is a long list. Imagine having this on your inbox. Housing, social security and regeneration, local government, public service reform, equalities, third sector and human rights, digital transformation, data and government IT and digital services. I imagine you're going to need a lot of caffeine to get through that lot on a daily basis. But then in July 2017, Sarah was appointed Director General Organisational Development and Operations, where her portfolio covers HR and organisational development, communications and ministerial support, financial management, commercial procurement, digital, and the establishment of the new Social Security Agency for Scotland. A pretty impressive resume to be able to talk to us about policy coherence in Scotland, and we're really thrilled that you're with us, Sarah, so delighted to welcome you.